This PowerPoint presentation is Unit 23, Introduction to Dementia. It's part of the Level 1 certificate in the Introduction to Health, Social Care, Children and Young People settings run by Plato Training. The aims and objectives of this session are to know the importance of a person-centred approach when working with individuals with dementia, to know the main causes and effects of dementia on the individual and their family and friends, and to understand the importance of effective communication for individuals with dementia. And as always, make sure you look out for the green boxes on the right hand side of each of the slides to show which question the slide relates to. Also ensuring you're sharing your own ideas when you're answering the questions. So we're going to start the session by looking at some facts and figures of dementia. So dementia is not a normal part of the aging process. However, the risk of developing dementia increases greatly with age. The likelihood of someone developing dementia at age 60 to 69 years is 1% for women and 1.5% for men. And the likelihood of someone developing dementia at age 90 years or more is 33% for women and 25% for men. So you'll see there that it increases the older somebody gets. So we're not sure exactly how many people in the UK have dementia. But in 2011, figures estimated that 670,000 people over the age of 65 in the UK had dementia. This was only an estimate, but now they currently estimate 850,000 people. Dementia is a growing condition, with 7.7 million new people being told they have dementia around the world every year. That means someone is being diagnosed with dementia every 4 seconds. And the number of people with dementia worldwide is expected to nearly double every 20 years to 65.7 million in 2030 and 155.4 million in 2050. There are many negative myths and stereotypes associated with dementia, and this can lead to misunderstanding of the disease. It can lead to stigma and also discrimination. The myths and stereotypes can stop people and their families from seeking a diagnosis and treatment, and they can also stop people from talking about dementia. Here are some statements that you often do hear. You hear people with dementia are crazy, people with dementia are mad, people with dementia are senile. These statements are incorrect. Most people living with dementia live in their own homes and care for themselves or have the support of family members to help them. However, some people with dementia do live in residential care or nursing homes. And it's important that this stigma of dementia needs to be removed. If you think about cancer, there's no longer a stigma about cancer. People used to assume cancer meant death, and nowadays there are many people who are cured of cancer, and obviously we've removed the stigma there, so we do need to remove the stigma of dementia, and people must have an awareness and an understanding of dementia. To have an understanding of dementia will help people realise what it is and how it affects different people. So we're going to start looking at the slides that relate to question number 1, and we're going to start by looking at what dementia means. And I want you to watch the video, click on the link and watch this YouTube video link which explains what dementia. It's just a short clip in a bit more detail for you, and then watch that before you move on to the next slides. So dementia is the name for problems with mental abilities caused by gradual changes and damage in the brain. Dementia is a word to describe a slow loss of memory and thinking skills, and this happens because cells in the brain stop working properly. The parts of the brain that are usually affected are the parts that control how we think, how we remember, and how we communicate. And dementia is a complex syndrome. It's affecting the brain functioning relating to irreversible loss of the cognitive, which is the mental capacity and memory, such that there is a decline in a person's behaviour and ability to function socially, physically and emotionally over time. Dementia is a complex umbrella term consisting of approximately 60 types of neurological disorders that doctors recognise. During this session, we will look at 4 types of dementia. We'll look at Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, dementia with Lewy bodies, and frontotemporal lobe dementia. And this brings you to question number 1. So pause the video here while you answer this question, and you need to outline what is meant by the term dementia. So think about the last few slides we've looked at, think about the video and put it into your own words and outline what is meant by the term dementia. So we're going to look at a slide now relating to question number 2, and we're going to look at recognising and valuing an individual with dementia as a person first. So dementia is not the same for everyone, so it's important to recognise and value an individual with dementia as a person first, because not everyone with dementia will need the same type of care. So support should be sensitive to the person as an individual and to focusing on meeting their well-being and meeting their needs. They have the same equal rights as everybody else, and we've looked at equality over the weeks. We've also looked at personal care and how we provide that person-centered care, and it's the same for somebody who has dementia. They have their individual needs which must be met, and recognising them as that person first. So now it's question number 2. So pause the video here and think about what we've just talked about on the last slide, about recognising that person first and their individual need, and outline why it's important to recognise and value that individual with dementia as a person first. We're going to now look at slides relating to question number 3. We're going to look at person-centred care plans. It's something we've looked at before, and it's just, it's important that you just read through the slides again and for you to understand the importance, why we're talking about it again. We've talked about individual needs for individual people, and somebody with dementia is as important that we look at their individual needs by finding out as much information as we can, and the importance of planning their care. It's about asking the person you're caring for what they want. The person should always be at the centre of the care plan, by asking their family, their partners, their friends for more information to support that. And the more information you have on that individual, the more person-centred their care can become, as I said we've looked at in the past as well. The needs, the wishes, the likes, the dislikes, finding things that may trigger their restricted behaviour, routines, what are they used to doing? If we change things, it can have an effect on them, and what's their preferred method of communication. And like we've said, if they use Makaton, if you use Makaton but they sign using British Sign Language, it would be like speaking Spanish to an English speaking person. So it's important that we find out their individual communication needs. Build a history of that person if they can no longer tell you who they are themselves. So we do this by speaking to family, to friends, or the carers. They can tell you more about that service user, about that individual, their likes, their preferences, dislikes, their routine. They can tell you about their history, what were they like, where did they work, did they have any children, do they have any grandchildren, are they an aunt or an uncle, all about their history of that person, so that you can communicate with that person if you know about their background, their life, painting that picture of who that person is that you're caring for. It will add value to the care that you provide to that service user, because you'll be able to talk about their history, talk about their lives. It's important also when you you'll consult with the family, the friends of that service user, but it's important that you use acceptable language. You think about their cultural needs. Though they may have forgotten their religion or their cultural needs, this is who they are, and it needs to be respected. Promote their well-being, always promoting their well-being. Match them to a suitable key worker who can relate to them, and ensure you set routines and give clear instructions, communicating effectively. Which brings you to question number 3. So pause the video here And you need to give 4 examples of how to use the person-centered approach when working with individuals with dementia. So think about what we've just talked about on the last few slides to support your answer. So the next few slides, we're going to look at some of the conditions under the umbrella term of dementia. But before we do that, I want you to look at this, click on this link and watch this video. And it's a personal experience of what it's like to care for someone with dementia. So say click on the link, and then once you've watched the video, then you can move on to the next slides. We're going to look at slides now relating to question number 4, and we're going to look at the 4 types of dementia, which was mentioned earlier. We're going to look at Alzheimer's disease, vascular dementia, dementia with Lewy bodies, and frontotemporal dementia. And we're going to start with Alzheimer's disease, and this is the most common type of dementia in the UK. The exact cause of Alzheimer's disease is not yet fully understood, although a number of things are thought to increase your risk of developing the condition. Here's another video that I would like you to click on and to watch, to click on the link to watch, and it's a story about somebody who's living with Alzheimer's disease. So it's really important that you do watch this before you move on to the next slide. The next one we'll look at is vascular dementia. So vascular dementia accounts for around 10% of cases of dementia. It's a less common cause of dementia. In vascular dementia, there are problems with the blood vessels within the brain, and this can be seen on a CT scan or an MRI scan. Another link for you to click on, another video, and this is a daughter's perspective, and her mum has dementia, and it's early onset vascular dementia, so really important that you watch the video before you move on to the next slide. Frontotemporal dementia is an uncommon type of dementia that mainly affects the front and sides of the brain, so the frontal and the temporal lobes. Frontotemporal dementia causes problems with behaviour and language. And the 4th one we're looking at is dementia with Lewy bodies. So Lewy bodies are clumps of protein that develop in their brain, resulting in dementia. Some people may have more than one type of dementia, and this is called mixed dementia. So people with Parkinson's disease can develop dementia with Lewy bodies. But what causes dementia? So we often hear ourselves ask, why do some people get it and others don't? So just have a think about that before we move on. And here you'll see some of the causes of dementia: Huntington's disease, age, alcohol use, having high cholesterol, diabetes, Down syndrome, HIV status, multiple sclerosis, often known as MS. It could be genetics, hypertension, mental illness, Parkinson's disease, smokers, your diet, a lack of exercise, and metal exposure. So they are some of the causes of dementia. On this slide you'll see here, so we're looking at normal aging, and then we're looking versus dementia. So you'll see down like the normal aging side, so not being able to remember details of a conversation or event that took place a year ago. That's normal aging. However, dementia is not being able to recall details of recent events or conversations. Normal aging, not being able to remember the name of an acquaintance. With dementia, not recognising or knowing the names of family members. And just have a look at the others there, forgetting things and events occasionally, with dementia forgetting things or events more frequently. Normal aging, occasionally having difficulty finding words. Dementia is frequent pauses and substitutions when finding words. And finally, you're worried about your memory, but your relatives are not. So normal aging, with dementia, your relatives are worried about your memory, but you're not aware of any problems. So there's the difference between normal aging and someone who might have dementia or the early signs of dementia. So now you're on question number 4, so pause the video here, and you need to give at least 4 examples of causes of dementia. So think about the slides, think about the videos that you've looked at, and you can use those to help you when you're writing your answer. We're going to look at slides now relating to question number 5. And we're looking at dementia and how it affects the individual. So in the brain, it has an effect on personality, on memory, on emotions and behaviour, on vision, language, body control, spatial awareness, the personhood also, so self-identity, the loss of their lifestyle, loss of independence, an inability to recognise their family and their friends, an inability to remember where they live, and an inability to stay safe. These are the effects that dementia can have on an individual. And what effect can dementia have on the friends, the families and the carers? Well, the family may become carers. So think about time management. So caring for a person with dementia is a full-time job. The loss of past relationships with the individual with dementia as they forget who they are. The family and friends, they need strong support networks. Caring for somebody with dementia can be expensive, so it can be a loss of earnings due to the time spent looking after that individual. Put stress on relationships. So for example, if somebody's looking after their mother or their father, it can have an effect on your own husband, your wife, your partner, because it's taken up your time. And lifestyle changes, so you can't go on holiday or you can't work. So these are some of the effects for family, friends and carers. So think about the last few slides and now look at question number 5. Pause the video here while you do that and outline the effects of dementia on individuals, on families and carers. We're going to look at question number 6 now, and we're looking at communicating. Now we've done a lot on communication over the last few weeks, and we're now looking at why is communicating effectively important when working with people with dementia. And it's important because it builds trust between the individual and the care workers. It supports the relationship with families and the individual with dementia. We can communicate how they are feeling, it helps to ease confusion, people with dementia will feel less worried, and the person with dementia feels part of the wider community. So pause the video here and answer question number 6 and identify the benefits of effective communication on the lives of individuals with dementia. And how can dementia affect spoken language? Well, it has an effect because people cannot remember common words, they use the wrong word, forgetting names, dates and places, going from one subject to another in the same sentence. They may have difficulty hearing but are unable to tell you this. Dementia is progressive, it gets worse over time, it slows down thinking and it makes it difficult to understand information. And it stops people communicating completely because they forget the meaning of words needed to make a conversation. So now look at question number 7, pause it here and outline how memory loss affects the use of spoken language in an individual with dementia, and think about the previous slide. Use some of those examples, put it into your own words. And we're now going to look at the slides relating to the final question, question number 8, and we're going to look at communicating and how can we get the person's attention? How can we make sure they're ready to talk to you? They may be busy. How can we stop any distractions? Other activities going on may stop them from listening to you. So think about those before you move on to the next slide. So the carer needs to adapt their approach when communicating with people with dementia. This will ensure the care is person-centred. The carer could adapt their care in ways such as using simple sentences and using limited vocabulary, using positive, open body language and watching a person's body language as well, Using pictures for communication, which we've talked about over some of the sessions. Using full sentences, asking open questions, how are you feeling? And asking closed questions as well, are you well? So it's adapting the situation for that individual to know to get the best response when you're communicating with them. Using eye contact is really important. Smiling, we've talked about body language before, but eye contact, smiling, active listening skills, again, we've talked about that in the past. Nodding, smiling, no interruptions, speaking clearly to help them to understand, being patient, giving them time to find the words to reply to you, using a friendly tone of voice, don't shout, don't whisper, just a friendly tone of voice. Hold or pat the person's hand so they feel safe, and use pictures from the past to help them find happy memories. So by knowing their past and finding that picture to help them when you're communicating. And this just brings you to question number 8. So pause the video here and give 4 examples of techniques that can be used to facilitate communication with an individual with dementia. And this brings you to the end of the session, and I just want to run through the aims and objectives. So now you've completed this session, you know the importance of person-centered approach when working with individuals with dementia. You know the main causes and effects of dementia on the individual and their family and friends, and you have an understanding of the importance of effective communication for individuals with dementia.